All right, today we're diving into one of history's most powerful stories of resistance. We're talking about a story that's just packed with incredible bravery, life or death secrecy, and, well, that unshakable human desire to be free.
So, let's just jump right in with the big central question. The one that kind of sounds like a riddle. How on earth did thousands of people manage to escape to freedom on a railroad that didn't even exist? I mean, when you think railroad, you think tracks, steam engines, right? So how does that work?
Well, here's the thing. The Underground Railroad, it wasn't a real railroad at all, not a single track or train car. It was a metaphor, a brilliant one, for the secret, sprawling network. Think of it like a hidden web of routes and safe houses, all run by some of the bravest people you can imagine, with just one single mission, to help enslaved African Americans escape bondage and find a new life. And that new life, for tens of thousands of people, the final stop, their North Star, was Canada. But you have to wonder, why Canada? What was so special about it? What made it this beacon of hope? It all comes down to one really important year, 1834. See, that's when the British Empire abolished slavery, period. And since Canada was part of the British Empire at the time, that single act completely transformed it. All of a sudden, it became a sanctuary. It created this legal line in the sand, or, a border, that separated slavery from freedom. And this was decades before the US would do the same, a huge deal. So how did this whole network actually work? Let's take a look at this secret path north, a network powered entirely by bravery, not by steam. I mean, the sheer scale of this is just staggering. Now, getting exact numbers is pretty much impossible, right? This was a secret operation. But historians estimate that as many as 40,000 people, 40,000, made this incredibly dangerous journey to freedom in Canada. That's 40,000 individual stories of pure grit and resilience. And you've got to understand, this wasn't some short-lived thing. The Underground Railroad was active for decades. It really started to form back in the early 1800s. Then, after 1834, when Canada became the destination, things really picked up. By the 1850s, it was at its absolute peak. Its mission only ended really when slavery was finally abolished in the US in 1865. This was a struggle that spanned generations. So you can kind of picture the geography of it, right? The journey would often funnel up through key northern states. We're talking Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, places that shared a border with Canada. And once people got across that border, they found refuge in southern Ontario, places like Windsor, Niagara Falls, Chatham. These became the first hubs of freedom, the first taste of a new life. They weren't just dots on a map, they were everything. Okay, and to keep all of this a secret, the network developed its own secret language, and it was brilliant. They basically borrowed all the terms from a real railroad. So the guide who led people, they were a conductor. A safe house with food and shelter, that was a station. And the whole thing was supported by abolitionists, both black and white, who worked to end slavery. This secret language, it wasn't just clever, it was absolutely essential for survival. But a network, a system, it's just an idea without the people on the ground making it happen. And that brings us to the conductors of courage, the people who risked everything, and I mean everything, their own freedom, their own lives, to guide others to safety. And when you talk about conductors, there's one name that everyone knows, Harriet Tubman. She was so revered, she earned this powerful nickname, the Moses of her people. Just stop and think about the sheer guts this took. Harriet Tubman escaped slavery herself. She got free, and she could have just stopped there. But she didn't. She went back, again and again. She made numerous trips deep into the South to guide others to freedom. Her courage was just legendary. It's no wonder she's one of the most famous and celebrated conductors ever. But as amazing as she was, Harriet Tubman wasn't alone. There were so many others. Take Josiah Henson. He was another key figure, but he was more than just a conductor. He was a community builder. His story really gives us a glimpse into what happened after the escape. Yeah, Henson's impact was huge, so he escaped slavery and made it to Canada. But then he helped establish a whole community for freed people in Ontario. I mean, building a new society from scratch. And get this, his life story was so powerful, it actually inspired the main character in the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin. That book was a game changer. It showed the world the horrors of slavery and really fueled the abolitionist movement. So that leads to a really important question. What was life actually like beyond the border?
You make this incredible journey, you cross into Canada, but then what? It was a new start, for sure, but also a new struggle. It wasn't like they just arrived and that was it. Freedom was something you had to build on. So step one was establishing communities. Then they built churches and schools. Faith and education were just so important. And maybe most crucially, they created these incredible support networks to help each other out. It was all about building a new life from the ground up. And it worked. This intense community building led to these amazing, thriving settlements. Places like Buxton and Don in Ontario, they became famous centers for Black life and culture. They were living, breathing proof of the resilience of the people who built them. But we have to be real about it. Gaining freedom wasn't the end of all their problems. On one hand, yes, they were legally free from slavery, which was everything. But on the other hand, they still faced a ton of challenges. There was still discrimination, financial hardship. It was a constant struggle for true equality. So when you look back at all of this, you have to ask, what is its unforgettable legacy? Why does this story still matter so much to us today? I think it's because it's just such a powerful symbol. It's a symbol of resistance, of incredible bravery, and of that deep, unstoppable pursuit of freedom that's inside all of us. And what's so cool is that this memory is kept alive today. This isn't just something in a textbook. You can go to places like the museums and historic sites in Windsor or the Buxton National Historic Site. You can actually visit these places and feel the history, see the memorials that honor the courage of everyone involved. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. What can we learn from a time when ordinary people, farmers, teachers, regular folks, risked absolutely everything, not for themselves, but for the freedom of others, for complete strangers? That idea of human solidarity, that's a powerful thing to reflect on.